This is a video I'm making, not in order to be spiteful towards this girl, but I see this as more of like an intervention message. Okay, this is to Aveyowyns. You can check out her channel in the description box. Avi, I just went down your entire video collection on YouTube, all less than 30 videos. And you've been here for a while, and through the time that you've been here on YouTube, I've seen a certain progression in you, and I want you to know that there's a reason why free thinkers or atheists or moderate Christians even will attack the viewpoints of 5-point Baptists, Calvinists, creationists, and otherwise literalist people who have viewpoints that start to be scary. Okay, and I want to show you yourself. Okay, now from my point of view as an atheist, let's get that out there right away. When I saw proof of the non-existence of what you consider your God, I decided to cast aside belief in your God. But you seem to think that when Christians find that science contradicts Christianity, that Christians just do the same thing that scientists do when science contradicts science. In what your eyes is some kind of conspiratorial thing where they just believe what they want to believe by rewriting their hypothesis. This is you just about a little more than a year ago.
And anything, and then you might ask, okay, so what happens if science disproves Christian truth? Well, I mean, the same thing that happens when science disproves scientific truth. It's just tossed away, and the hypothesis is rewritten, or the method is rewritten until it proves what the hypothesis was looking for. I mean, not to say that Christians would actually do that, but that's what's done in the science world. If a scientific experiment is carried out and the outcome does not meet the hypothesis, is not the same as the hypothesis, then that experiment is just tossed out and another experiment is formed with different methods, and it goes on and on until we can prove that idea or that hypothesis.
First of all, Amy, I would like you to know that if a scientist finds that his hypothesis is false, that doesn't mean he didn't learn something from his experiment. And whether or not a hypothesis is true or false, new hypotheses will be drawn up to expound on what was learned. Whether or not the original hypothesis was true or false. And in fact, no one who is a true scientist lets their bias rewrite hypotheses over and over again until they find one that lets them believe what they already believed. That is just patently wrong. And from that first video that I see on your channel, you just get worse. And I think that you're probably stuck in a 5-point Baptist system where you're getting more and more extreme. And it's this extremeness that scares us, us rational people, because this is what leads to horrible things in the world. And I know you think that it's your extreme literal translation of the Bible that that actually saves lives. I've seen your video, God is Dead. Where to begin with that? That video was just horribly inaccurate. Okay? And I really want you to see where you're going with all this. Now, at least you are seeing that killing people is wrong, that mass murder is wrong. In that God is Dead video, you throw up a lot of statistics and numbers, but at least one thing that we can agree on is that mass killing is wrong, correct? Okay, now I want you to see your own words in your latest video, which was a reply to Noah Plum, and then we're going to discuss this more.
God is the greatest conceivable being, must be what he ought to be and do what he ought to do all the time. If God demands that humanity performs evil actions, actions that ought not to be done, and calls these actions good, actions that ought to be done, then he lies and does what ought not to be done. God, as the greatest conceivable being, cannot do what ought not to be done. God, as the greatest conceivable being, is good and must do and say what is good. Any attempt by humanity to disobey what God, the greatest conceivable being, has said is good would be an attempt to do evil. Any perspective that differs from God's perspective is a wrong perspective, because God always has the right perspective as the greatest conceivable being.
So, now that we've come to the point where we've already established that killing people is wrong, and you think that the God that you believe in can do no wrong, explain to me why your God committed mass murder with a huge flood around the world, and explain to me why your God would tell Moses to tell his people to kill entire civilizations of people to clear out the promised land and then inhabit it. Why can't your God achieve his ends without killing things? Now, Avi, I want you to listen very closely here. Your literalist, Calvinist, five-point Baptist translation of the Bible, it's bordering on scary, because you're believing the same things that many other Christian sects that have done very horrible things in the name of your God believe. And it's not just violence, okay? A lot of it is the oppression of good science. Science that brings us progress. Your video regarding Adam and Eve, what the F? That was a laughable attempt to rationalize your literalist translation of Adam and Eve and genetics and the problem of incest with Adam and Eve and their children having to make more children. That was one of the worst rationalizations of beliefs that I've seen here on the internet, because you're twisting real science, okay, and real knowledge. Where you're going, none of us want to see you go, okay? There is no conspiracy about science where scientists are just trying to disprove your God. Okay? Those biases, if they existed, would be eliminated by proper application of the scientific method. Okay? Avi, I hope you can take this video in the way that I intended it, because I think that you are bright enough that you could have a really great future if you stop being scared of where the truth might lead you.